Hello, and thanks for joining me. Some of you may have seen the restore video I did on this Canedy Otto drill press. I'm really pleased with the way it came out. There was one problem though. It had a run out in the chuck, quite a bit too, probably about 35 thousandths. And I've also got a bearing fit problem. This bottom bearing's a little loose. That's another 10 thousandths. Anyway, I started investigating it, and about 99%, not counting this bearing fit, is in the taper. So I ran a Morris taper reamer in there and it helped it, but I'm a little afraid it'll go ream it crooked. So I want to do that in my lathe, so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take this out and fix that bearing fit. So let's get started. Looks like there's a little bit of run out here. Of course, I've taken a dial indicator to it, but this is part of the damage. Somebody's hit it on the bottom with a hammer, and it's screwed up the taper inside. But this is just superficial on the outside. But you can see the run out right here if you look real close. I've got a Morris taper reamer that I've run up in there, and it improved it drastically, and you can see where it's taking off the damaged spot. But I'm afraid without doing that in my lathe, I'm going to get it in there, start messing up the bore, making it crooked, making it worse, or at least not being able to correct it completely, and I don't want to do that. This chain with a weight in here in the column is for my quill return. I got to stop that from going back in the column. The wire just, for some reason, just barely fits in there. I had the same problem before. It won't fit in these. Apparently the chain's slightly damaged there. Anyway, that'll stop it from going back in the column. Now that I know how this thing comes apart, this should be easier. Yeah, this one was the stacked set screw. One's a lock and the other one is actually going into a hole in the column. Let's see. If I remember right, that just slips off of it. No, that's where I had a hard time getting it off last time. There's a piece of felt in here that stops that oil from leaking out the gap right there, so it'll go down in the bearing. I can't remember exactly how it goes together. I think I remember. That mean I'm getting old? Just did this last week. Okay, this got a little ledge in there that the bearing sits in, and then it's got a weird, like a rotating seal that goes down in the bearing and sits on top of the bearing. I've got a piece of pipe there. You can see the bearing right there. That bearing's got to come out. And on my restore video, some of the comments were, don't, use a brass hammer, don't beat on the shaft. And they were right. I got kind of fed up with trying to get this, that bearing fit right there was extremely tight. and I used a hammer on the end of the shaft. It did mushroom the shaft slightly. It wasn't a really critical area. I just ground it off. But I'm going to use a wood block this time, and hopefully it'll come out of there a little easier. Hey, what about that? That came out of there a lot easier. That was still a snug fit, but nothing like it was before. I like that way better. Okay, here's our spindle. I never did take this bottom bearing off. It's really a tight bearing. I don't want to take a chance on damaging the bearing. I could probably replace it, but I don't want to. But I think it's also bent, like up in this area. But I'm going to put that in the lathe, and I'm a little worried now. I don't know if this area will go through the headstock or not. This will. That's slightly larger there. I didn't count on that. So let's give that a try. Well, I think I've got some clearance issues here with my garage door. I have to open the garage door. Maybe not. No, we're good. Well, I hope that goes through there. I don't think it's going to. Nope. Shoot. Well, that might be straight enough. We'll see. It would have been much better if it was chucked up to right here. Let's see what I look like here. Wow, that looks really straight. I just thought of something I want to check before I do this. This is not the right way to true up your tailstock. But I want to see if I'm lining up. And I'm not. My tailstock needs to go toward the wall. Height-wise, we're looking good. After I rebuilt this lathe, I never centered the tailstock. Now this is not the right way to center a tailstock, but it'll work. I mean, it'll work for what we're doing. I can't really get the camera straight down on that, but you'll probably see it move. You just won't be able to see when it's truly lined up. Oop, that's the wrong way. Something else I want to check, see if I got any wobble. Oh, that looks good. This is a cheap chuck, but it's pretty doggone true. Okay, on the bearing, which is probably not a good place to do it, it's about 3/4 of a thousandth, not even 1,000th play. On that right there, it's quite a bit. It's probably $4,000. A little more than I was hoping for. Probably 5,000. Shaft right here. 3 thousandths. Boy, I really wish I could chuck up on that. Here's part of the problem. I'm 2.5 thousandths off, right up at the chuck. So, got to figure out how to address that. This might not work at all. This is 4 thousandths. I'm high on the next one. Let's put another 4 thousandths under that and see what happens. That did help at that time. About 1.5 off. I can live with that. I can live with that. Okay, here's what I was thinking about doing. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Got a center on the back of the reamer. I was thinking about using the dead center in my tailstock. Now that we know it's at least fairly closely lined up. That wasn't the right way to line up a tailstock, by the way. A little bit afraid of sticking a wrench on there for fear it'll grab it. Probably should take a different approach. If I had a little short wrench, it'd be good. Actually, a longer wrench so I could rest on the bed would be the way to go. Let me try that, like a crescent wrench. I also know from past experience it's easy to go too far. Definitely don't want to do that. Look at there. That took quite a bit. Okay, I actually got it within a couple of thousandths. And I don't really think I'm doing any good anyway. I think it's all a bent shaft that won't be noticed when it's chucked in the drill press. We'll see. See if I made it any better. I'm sure I made it better. How much, I don't know. Okay, I've cleaned up the bore with MEK and a rag. Cleaned up the outside of this bearing here. Always makes me nervous to use this Loctite. I've had some experiences with it. where I can't get stuff apart. But this is not supposed to be that kind of Loctite. This is for bearing fits. Always worried it's going to get in the bearing. It's probably not a good thing. On this other end, I should have had a piece of pipe ready to drive down over that. That's it. I think before I do anything, I'm just going to let that sit there. Here's something I did on the table clamp. Took a piece of this shim stock. This is 5/1000ths, I think. And put that in there. Makes it way easier to lock down the handle. I don't know if it's wear on the dovetails or what, but it really helps. And I just glue them in there, contact cement. Let that dry there for a minute. Okay. Okay, I got the chuck back in it. I got a large center drill in it, just to give me something to set my indicator on. Actually, that's 7/1000ths. It's better than what it was. I've had that, it's been about 40 minutes, I guess, since I put that Loctite in there. No movement there. Yeah, that fixed that. So we've made some improvements. May not be perfect, but I think it's probably good enough. As good as it's going to be, I guess. Well, that about wraps it up. I'm really pleased with it. I think I got kind of fanatical about the run out on this. The run out is really good. I mean, I've tried it several times. It's no problem hitting the mark. It's going to be a really useful machine. It's got about 7/1000ths run out, and I think that's pretty darn good. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and be sure and subscribe.